Hi all, welcome to Super Coders. So in this tutorial, we are gonna working with our manage purchase order page. So we can list our purchase order. Then we can also work on the purchase order edit, which is in draft status. So we can edit the purchase order. Then we can save the purchase order. And also we are going to create an API for listing the purchase order and saving the draft PO order. So let's get started and let's work on this tutorial. And also if you are new to channel, please subscribe our channel and please like the video. And if you have any question, please do comment. Now let's get started. So first, if you see this menu, it is looking little bit look earlier, like the size is getting increased. So what I can do, I'm just in uh, changing the text right now. Instead of create purchase order, let's change to create PO order and manage PO order. Save it, refresh page. Now it is perfect. And if I come to manage PO order, so the page is manage purchase order, which is coming from the module URL, manage purchase order. Let's create this route. But before that, let's first, first let's create this API to get list of POs. So just come to VS Code and open your backend code, open e-commerce inventory, then open your order services, open URLs, and let's create a URL. Let's create a URL purchase order list, and let's link it with create a code. Or instead of that, just use our common API which we create earlier in the product services. So just come to product services, open your controller, product controller, and here you already created a list API for product. Just using that, copy it, paste it, and change this only view name. So purchase order list view, change the serializer. So change with purchase order serializer, custom pagination, import it, change this product questions to purchase order. Now after that, here we don't need product ID, so remove it, remove this, and other things are perfect. Change this serializer, purchase order serializer, import this mixin API. Now save it and let's link with our URLs. So copy the view, come to yours, paste it, purchase order list. Just copy this here and paste it. Now save it. Okay, comma is missing. Now let's check it's working or not. So back to Postman, closing other tabs, close all tabs, don't save. Now coming to the login API, first logged in. Now after that, let's open our purchase order API. Just copy this API, change with orders and purchase order list. Click on send, and here we go. Our API is working. But here if you see, I am getting the items also. If you see, I am getting the items here. If you see, it has item with few letters. So I don't want this item in the listing page. So we need to optimize our API so it will not return the JSON data of items. If you see the response size, it's 11 KB. So we also need to take care of this thing, like our response size is not get increased. If there is some requirement, we need to increase it. But right now I don't need these items, so we need to remove this item. So what I can do, come to list API and let's create another serializer for the listing of data. So class purchase order list serializer purchase order, to use this serializer here in our API. So use it, also use it here, save it, click on send, click on send again, and here we go, our items get removed, and you can see the response size is also get decreased. Right now it is on 4 KB, earlier it is 11 KB, now it is decreased with 4 KB. So we can also decrease the response size that is required. Now after that, all the things I am getting, here we need to do some changes like I need warehouse name, supplier name. So what I can do in this realizer, warehouse id equal to realizer dot char field source equal to warehouse id dot name and read only true. To with supplier id also, supplier underscore id dot email. Save it back to postman. Click on send, and you can see I'm getting warehouse id, warehouse name, supplier id. I'm getting email. After that, let's do things with like created by. So just copy it and do it also. Paste it. Then we created by user id. Paste it. Then domain user id is also paste it. Approved by user id. Paste it. Then cancelled by user id. Paste it. Then received by user id. Paste it. Written by user id. So here what I can do, last created by user id dot username, created by user id dot username, domain user id dot username, approved by user id dot username. Same way here, cancelled by user id dot username. So previously we used different approach. Like previously we used serializer.get method. Right now I'm just using the simple method also here. So that's why I use this simple method right now. Username, username. Save it back to postman. Click on send, and here we go. We can get our data. Right now we don't have any user details. That's why it is giving null. But if you see the updated by created by domain user ID, we are getting all these details for all the orders. So that is perfect right now. After that, let's create another API to get our PO item, whether it is on when it is on draft state. So for that, we need to create another API. So what I can do, come to us.py, and here just copy the same API. This time I'm taking the ID. So str ID and linking with same API, purchase order draft detail. So this API will work only when the our order is on draft status. Otherwise, it will return error. So to take care of this thing also. So right now, just come to the create method, and here what I can do. Let's do one thing. Here instead of passing the purchase order, do it like this way. PO equal to purchase order dot objects dot filter domain user id to request for domain user id. Then I need to pass our id. So take the id as a parameter input id, and id equal to id dot first, and this condition will run only if id is written the purchase order. So as you remember in our dynamic form, if we pass our purchase order item instance with the value, it will return the it will return the data with value. Otherwise, it will return a new instance or new state which don't have any data. So if I pass this purchase order, it will return our item with default value. So let's pass it as PO right now and save it. And let's do what? Just try to check it. This is working or not. So back to Postman. First saving this API. Save as e-commerce inventory. Purchase order. Purchase order list. Now after that, in create order, do what? Just calling the ID. I think at 10 I have purchase order. So if I call with 10, I can get the value. And if I see, I'm getting the default value with my database value saved in our database. You can see it is returning to 123. It is returning date. It is also returning the expected delivery date, total amount, all the things I am getting. Now after that, here it is showing unpaired and other data I am getting. But we need to return one more thing data or one more data for the PO item. So what I can do, just come back to PS Code and here let's get the PO items. So right now PO item I can't use in the dynamic form field because dynamic form field return only the one object, you can say single object, but in a PO item it is a multiple items, so I can't pass it here and it will not render in our UI. So I have to write our custom logic here. So what I can do, PO items equal to purchase order items objects dot POID if ID is purchase. Here use the ID. If ID is purchase order is return an empty array or items and pass it as a another object. PO items, pass it as a array or pass it as a PO items. Now save it back to Postman. If I click on send, click on preview. Okay, we need to serialize the data. So what I can do, PO items equal to purchase order items serializer. PO items many true data. Save it. Again click on send. Now if you check again, I am getting the PO items here. You can see I have item 1, item 2 and item 3. That is fine. And PO fields has different key. And if I try without the ID, I am getting the empty list in the, let me check. If I didn't pass the, okay, purchase order, purchase order without string. Okay, I need to here add equal to none. Now save it. If I didn't pass ID, it will return me the new stage and I am getting the PO item as a blank. That is fine. There is no default value right now because we didn't use our item. If I pass 10, I am getting the data. After that, let's do some other things. Like I want to return the PO data also. So PO data return all the suppliers and other things. As you know, we need supplier details also. So I get what I can say, PO data equal to supplier ID. PO dot supplier ID if PO has written the blank data. If PO dot supplier underscore ID as blank, also written the supplier email PO dot supplier dot mail. Now save it and return this PO data also. Now save it back to Postman. Click on send. If I pass the ID, I'm getting the PO data with supplier ID. And if I didn't pass it, uh, purchase order has no supplier ID. So we need to handle this case also. Here, if I add try PO data, try kept PO data blank. Now save it. So if the item exists, it will return it. If that is not exist, then we can return a simple PO data of blank object. That is fine, I think. Now after that, all the thing is done. We are returning the items, we are returning these PO details and PO fields. Now we need to work on this updating this data. So what we have to do? We have to update the data. So for that, what I can do, just come to postman, and in the post method, I'm taking the ID as input, ID equal to none. And what I can do, if there is ID, we need to create a serializer with the data. So if ID serializer, or first take the purchase order, PO equal to purchase order objects dot filter, domain user ID, then first, and after that here create a serializer. So if PO, then if PO exists, then serializer equal to purchase order serializer PO and data equal to data. Else purchase order not found. For this case, if I am passing the ID, but the ID is not exist, so I can return the message purchase order not found. For this else condition, if there is no ID, we can create a new instance of our serializer. If there is ID, we can check PO exists or not. If PO exists, we can update the data with PO update serializer. If it does not exist, I can create a new item. And if ID is not passing, if ID is passing but if that is not exist, we can return the message purchase order not found. Now save it. And after that, coming to the serializer, we need to write a method for update. So what I can do, just copy the same code and here creating define update. After that, here just copy the same code, copy it, but we need to update the data. So what I have to do? So in update, that line is fine. Then we need to get the instance. So what I can do? Instance equal to super dot update instance by data. So I can update my instance data. Then after that, we need to get the items data. So right now, here we have to write one more logic. Like I am passing I have 5 items, and after updating, like I have 5 items, which is ID 1, 2, 3, 4. But update, I am passing only 1, 2. So that what it means? It means I deleted the item 3, 4. So if I am not passing any ID in the purchase order item, we have to delete that item. So we write a logic for deleting that item also. So what I can do? Items equal to item dot item underscore data dot get ID for item underscore data in items data if ID in item data. So I can get the list of all the ID which I'm passing in update PO order item, and that ID, what I can do, we can use that ID and fast we can use that ID and find our all the PO items which has not match, like I am passing, I have 4 PO items, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm passing only ID 1, 2. So I want to delete the item which is 3, 4, so that I can get from these IDs. So what I can write, purchase order items filter dot filter, then here passing PO ID instance, exclude ID in items. So I will exclude the items which is exist in the ID and delete the other items. So I'm fetching all the PO items for that PO and exclude that items which is I'm passing in the form, and other items I can delete that. After that, here if item data, that is fine, and here purchase order dot create PO ID. So here we'll to update the object, and also in the update case, I think I'm passing the PO ID. So what I can do, if PO underscore ID in item data, item underscore data pop PO ID. So in update case, in the form I am passing PO ID, but that we need to ignore it. So we remove the item PO ID. After that, if ID in item data, then in that case I am getting the purchase order object dot filter ID equal to item ID good ID, then update this data, or we can use some other way also. Instead of updating this item, just move this here, and let's use the serializer, PO item serializer, and here take it as a PO item purchase order item serializer, passing PO item first, data equal to item data. So we can update this data, and here writing the logic, if PO item serializer is valid, then save it. So in that way, you can update the data if there is ID. Else there is no ID, we can create a new instance just like previously, update method, and here purchase order, change this with instance, change this with instance. Now all the things are fine, I think. Purchase order return instance, all the thing is okay. Now we need to check whether it is working or not. So back to Postman. Right now if I check with Git API, that is working. Let's check with Post API. So just copy this uh, second API, and I'm gonna use this API for as update. So what I can do here, I can pass the data. So first checking the Chrome and checking any PO, open any PO, open any PO, purchase order, and here just like I'm gonna check the update for ID 1. So 1, and gonna pass my this data for 1. Right now if I check paid amount, total amount, changing this value 2000 and 2000. Also passing the ID for product ID. So I'm just checking the PO items, which is ID is 2 or 1. Let me check. PO ID is 1. Just check it. Those items also. So these 2.2 values. I'm changing this value. Order quantity and quantity received. Just copy this quantity order and updating the value to 2, and here 3. Also need to pass the id, so passing the id 1 and 2, id 1, passing the id 2. Now let's check it's working or not. Click on send and there is some error. We check. Okay, render response missing one positional argument data. So after that, in the post method, okay, here data is missing. Save it. Now click on send. It is showing purchase order not found. And if I check the purchase order 1, okay, there is domain user ID not exist. Let's try with 2. Try with 2. So if I search with your item with ID 2, search it, there is no item. Let's check some other data. Uh, 3 is there. Use 3. I'm using 3. Now let's try to update this items 3, 4 and 3 this one. So using 3 and using 3, 4 for the ID this one. 3, 4. Click on send and I think it's get updated. If I check the response, let me check with Chrome browse. If I see 3, you can see it's get updated. And if I check with items, refresh, you can see these values get updated also. So that is working fine. So in that way, I created the API for list API and update the items and get the item with value. So let's save it. Get draft item PO. Get draft PO. Now save it. Save this also. Save draft PO. Save it. Now all the API has been created. Let's work on the back front end side. So let's work on front end right now. Just come back to VS Code and close all this page. Close this thing. In the front end, open src, open app.js file, and let's copy this same URL. This time taking the positional argument ID. Let's create the second URL, which is, let me check the URL, second URL, which is manage purchase order. Copy this URL, copy this URL, paste it, save it. Now let's create a component for manage purchase order list. So for that, what I can do is go to pages and just gonna copy this manage product component, copy it, paste it, close it, close it, and here rename it to manage purchase order. Manage purchase order. Copy this name, enter, change this component name and export component name also. Save it and link with also manage purchase order. Save it. After that, come back to Chrome, refresh page, and let's do some other things also here. Here we don't need a reviews component and the question component. Remove it and remove the usage which is in dialog. Remove it. Save it. Back to Chrome. Refresh page. And here we go. Right now we are getting the item for products, but we need to change the API. Copy the API URL. Purchase order list. Copy this API URL to VS Code. Back to VS Code. And here gonna change the API. Paste it. Save it. Back to Chrome. Refresh page. Now I'm getting the PO items. You can see I'm getting the PO items. Here we don't need this questions and review. So remove that also. So here scroll down. I don't need questions and review. Remove it. We don't need this specification and other things or HTML description also. Remove it. This is the model also for description. Remove it. After that, we don't need this data type. So remove these fields. Only we need additional details. Additional details. Now save it. Back to Chrome. Refresh page. Now if I see, everything is perfect. I can enter the items and I can see the JSON data also. That is fine. After that, let's change these titles. So come back to VS Code. Home, man, home, manage, purchase, order, purchase, order. Refresh it. Now that is fine. I think it's working. After that, we need to remove this add button, and instead of edit, we need to use two buttons. Edit is only showing for draft, and add and view button is showing only for the pure details. Right now we need to work on the pure details. We will work on the pure details on the next tutorial. But right now we just work on the PO edit, which is on draft state. So for that, what I can do here, adding uh, params dot row status equal to draft. Then in that case, I can show this button. Remove the add button. Add button is not required. If it is in draft status, I can show the edit button. Otherwise, I can show a view button. Icon button. Create icon dashboard color primary. Now the first button is for draft and the second one is for uh, edit. Let's get an empty fragment. Save it. Back to Chrome. Refresh page. Now I can see this button and there is some issue. Yeah, it should be like this way. Now save it. Okay, I don't need this empty fragment. Now save it. And if I check, you can see I'm getting the edit button for draft and I'm getting the view details for the dashboard for the view details page. So what I can do for the dashboard page, on click, navigate, PO details, PO details, forms dot row dot id. Save it, refresh page. If I click on this link, it will direct me to the PO detail page. Save it. If I click on it, if I click on view, okay, that is fine. Right now, we're going to work on this PO details page. We will work on the next tutorial. But right now, let's work on the PO edit for the status which is in draft. So for that, what I can do in edit click, I can write with the URL slash create PO and passing the ID slash create PO. And also here, I don't need edit click, remove it. I don't need HTML data, remove it. Now save it, back to Chrome, refresh page. Now let's try with first ID 10. If I click on it, I can come to the if I click on it again, I come to the create period page with ID. So I can use this ID to fetch the form data. So for that, what I can do, create purchase order, take the ID as a params. So const ID equal to use params, save it. After that, in the get form field, const ID var equal to, if there is ID, I can use the ID with slash. If there is ID, I can use the ID with slash, as it is the empty blank. So just pass this ID where ID where, save it, back to Chrome, refresh page. If I'm passing the ID, I can see the form with details already filled. If I click on again, create purchase order, I can see the empty form. And if I click on edit, I can see the form with details already filled. After that, come back to VS Code. Here we need to set our supplier. That's what I said earlier. We need to set our supplier also. So for that, what I can do here, I can use set supplier email response.data dot pu dot supplier email. Let's check the exact key. Supplier email, and it is coming on the pure data. So adding this null check also, then pure return dot supplier email and supplier ID, set supplier ID. Also setting the value, set value or methods dot set value supplier ID and set the supplier ID. Now save it, back to Chrome, refresh page, and you can see I am getting the supplier is selected. After that, let's render our purchase order items. So here I'm going to do some changes. I don't think we need these PO items to render our item. So remove it. Instead of that, we can use our React hook form values to identify the objects and data. So here I don't need this thing. So remove this grid, and PO items use watch or methods dot watch items, and also here item and SQ in item, then show this value, else show the blank value. Let me check other places also. Here we don't need, we need only methods dot watch items dot filter product ID exists or not. Change this also. Watch items methods dot watch items, and here fetching the item again for copying it. So I'm setting the new value with the old value for watch, and here I need to use dot set value and passing the items with the old value and the new value. So I can set the old and new value both here. After that, we don't need this one also. Now after that, let's set this PO item value also. So for that, what I can do, methods dot set value items response data dot, let me check the key name, PO items data, then PO items. Now that is fine. Save it, back to Chrome, fresh page. Now you can see the items also. You can see all the item is showing here. That is a simple concept because we don't need the PO items right now. We can use this approach also. And if I try to work with creating a PO, let me check that is working fine for the creating PO or not. So setting the warehouse, setting the payment term, setting the parcel paid, amount paid, and there is no button showing for select supplier. So let me check. Let me check the logic for supplier email. Supplier or supplier email or not. Supplier email. Save it. Back to Chrome. Refresh page. Now it's fine. So the logic is simple here. I'm just comparing with the blank value, but there is supplier with null value also. That's why I use the not condition. There is no supplier. I can show the button. Now let's try to create a simple PO first. Then we will update the method. I just now try to save it and let's check it's working or not. Click on save draft, and if I check it's working or not, and you can see I can successfully created a new PO. So that's the things. I don't need PO item extra state to manage it. We can use our React hook form, watch items to watch the items and do the things. You can use this simple concept. After that, here if you see in the get API, I'm not getting the product ID and SKU. For that, I'm gonna do some changes on my serializer. In the backend side, e-commerce inventory, open the order services controller, purchase order controller, and in the product item serializer, use sq, so it has a dot char field, product id dot sq. Then the second thing is our product name. Save it, refresh page, and this time if I check, I can see the SKU with product ID. So that is fine, I think. In the read state, we can get this product name and product ID and also SKU. Now after that, let's work on the update data and save this data. So just come back to VS Code, and here in our create purchase order on post, we have to pass our ID. So again, same way, post ID where equal to ID, pass that ID here using template literals and passing the ID where. Now save it. After that, all the thing is perfect. Back to Chrome, refresh page, try to save this data. And here if you see there is one error from the previously. I have selected this value, but it's still showing select this field. For the autocomplete, the value is not getting set for React component. So what I can do in our component, in the common input component, let's create a use effect, use effect, and here use it as an empty because I'm running only one time. So what I can do here, selected option equal to field dot options dot find option dot id equal to field dot default, or you can use this data also if you don't want to write this condition. Use this one, this complete logic, use it. If there is item or watch selected, I can use that, or I can use the default. So what I can do here, if there's any option selected, if selected option, selected value, field dot name, selected option dot id. Now save it, back to Chrome, refresh page. So the default value is not getting set. That's why it is getting the issue. Okay, it's showing some error. Field dot options. Let's add a null check because option is not exist for all. Option is exist only for the LOB parts or API with LOB or field with LOB. So refresh page. Now it is fine. And if I try to save it again, this time it is showing the error with date. So let's fix this date also. So right now we didn't show the date here. So for that, what I can do, if field dot type equal to text and is date time in field. So if this condition satisfy, means the field is date time. So what I can do, const date equal to new date field dot default. After that, const tj offset equal to new date dot get times and offset. After that, const local time equal to new date dot get time minus tj offset dot to iso string dot slice 16. Then set value field.name local time. Now save it, back to Chrome, refresh page, and you can see I'm getting the date. So the reason is here, if you see the API of the PO order, let me show you something. You can see if the date is format in the default format, which is in TJ format. That's why I need to format the date in the standard format of the JavaScript date. That's why I need to use this condition to set the value. So converting the date, and again save it, set the value to our React hook form. Now after that, click on save, and you can see our data is get updated. If I refresh page again, refresh again. So there is some error showing on the line number. Let me check console. The error is on the line purchase order 74. So here line number 74. Just adding the extra condition for logic. If item and item, if item and SQ in item. Now save it, refresh page. Now that is fine. You can see it's working fine, and I can get all the SQ and product details and everything. After that, if I come again, create purchase order, that is fine. Click on manage PO order, that is also fine. If I click on ID again, I can get the data, and even if I click on delete and I can click on save draft, if I check again, you can see one item is getting deleted. And also after like when I'm working with edit, after editing the edit, I need to navigate to the manage page. So what I can do here, on edit success, if there is ID, I need to navigate to different page. So here declaring a navigate const navigate equal to use navigate. After editing, after saving the data, if there is ID, I can navigate to the manage purchase order. Now save it, back to Chrome, refresh page, and let's try to add a new item here. So check it whether new item is also working or not. So adding a new item, percentage 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, giving the additional details 1, 2, click on save, click on edit, and that is fine. I can edit it, and I can add a new item also. So all the things are working fine. So that's it. I have done all the things like manage PO, edit the draft view, edit our draft view. After that, in next tutorial, we're gonna work with our view PO details. If I click on this page, I can view the PO details. There we can invert the PO items to our stocks in inventory. So I hope you like the video. Thanks for watching. Please like our video and please subscribe our channel. And if you have any question, please do comment.